Happy Shohei Ohtani Day, everybody. Shohei Ohtani on the slate for tonight in daily fantasy baseball, along with some other pretty interesting pitchers. And overall, I think it's a pretty fun slate. A lot of ways you can play these things. We got some decent, I would say, under-the-radar pitchers, so I don't think a lot of people will be on. So overall, a fun slate. Let's dive on in and get you all set. This is the FanDuel Live Q&A right here on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter channels. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberFire.com, here to take your questions live on air for the next half an hour to get you set for a Friday night slate of daily fantasy baseball. As always, no matter where you are watching, you can get your questions in YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, no matter where it is. Put those questions in the chat. We'll take them live here on air to get you set for tonight's slate. Next week, we've got some NFL stuff coming down the pipe, so that's going to be a whole lot of fun. We'll still be going live at 4 p.m. each day, so the timing will not change. Baseball, though, once we get into NFL stuff, we'll start at 4:30. It'll be NFL first, followed by baseball. Either way, we're going to keep this baseball stream going until the end of the regular season, so plenty of reason to stick around here on the numberFire daily fantasy, the numberFire streams, and the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter pages. Let's start things off with John over on YouTube. John is asking, how would you stack Houston tonight? And John, I do think that Houston is a good spot to go facing Jake Arrieta. Arrieta really struggling so far this year, especially recently. That's why he was released in the Cubs. Now, coming off the IL for the Padres, first start didn't go that well. So I think that things set up pretty well here for Arrieta, or for the Astros facing Arrieta, and I do like the Astros. The one problem we have, John, with regards to filling out a lineup is not really sure what it will look like for tonight, because it could be Brantley sitting, could be Yordan Alvarez sitting. My hope is that it's Brantley who sits, because I don't want to use him. I want to use Alvarez. So my hope is that we get a situation where Brantley is the guy sits as they use a DH, and I can go to Yordan Alvarez and the other really fun guys on this this Astros team. Let's pull up the Astros salaries over here. I'm probably going to wind up being pretty high on Kyle Tucker for today. $3,300, a guy who has a lot of upside because he has both speed and can swipe some bags. So Tucker, low salary, can swipe some bags. I'm probably going to be pretty into that. Let's check out Alex Bregman, see what he's been doing here since he came back from the IL. It's a situation where I want to, check out the numbers he's had recently, given he's coming off a pretty extended injury. Make sure he's hitting the ball well, seeing the ball well. We can feel good about him because the salary of Bregman is pretty forgiving at $3,600. So if we can justify being into him, I'd be pretty jazzed about that. Okay, we got about a 6-game sample here. He's had a couple barrels, 50% hard hit rates. That's actually looking pretty good. So I would say Bregman, we can get the green light on him. So let's get Bregman in there. Going to gloss over Yuli because it's a righty. I want Altuve in there, and I want Alvarez. I would say this is probably where I'm looking for a 4-player stack of the Astros. I think that if you like Nathan Eovaldi for tonight, you can make that work. It does force you to try to find some value plays, but I think that works. So this is probably the core 4 for me, John, in terms of stacking the Astros. If you need to skip over Altuve or Bregman or Alvarez to get there, that's fine, depending on what value pops in there, but that's probably the main 4 guys I'd want to turn to for tonight. Let's talk to Renee on YouTube. Any interest in the amazing Mets? Yes, I think they're actually pretty good for one-offs for today because they're facing Sean Nolan. They just saw Nolan last week, and Nolan was pretty good against them, did let up a couple of home runs, and they've got some righties who can hit lefties pretty well. So I would say looking at guys like Kevin Pillar specifically for value, if he's in there, I've not seen their lineup yet, but if Pillar winds up playing, he's minimum salary, got some power, can allow you more flexibility in using the Astros and stuff like that. So I'd say Pillar's in play, Alonso's in play, and checking out some of the other righties there. So I would say yes, Renee. I think that the Mets, more so for one-offs than stacks, definitely a team I want to go to. Baez, Lindor, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that Pillar specifically a guy who I can definitely see myself being on for tonight. James says 14 games are a lot, and he also likes the Express slate over on FanDuel. James, in general, I am pro Express slate because narrows down your research, gives you a lot fewer things to look at. I think that if you are someone who's, working all day Friday, doesn't have a lot of time to do a lot of research, the express slates are a really fun way to get around that. Personally, I feel like I've had more success with smaller slates. If you're playing a big slate like this, I think that's a good time to go to, single entry, 3-entry max type tournaments to make it where you're not facing people who have like every combination of every stack. So yeah, James, I agree. I think the express slates are great. I think that single entry, 3-entry max type things, those are very good for today. Would recommend, and good luck to you in those. Let's talk to Julius. He had a mid-level pitcher for tonight. I think there are two, Julius. I would say the primary one to me is Nathan Eovaldi, facing off with Cleveland. He did just see them as his most recent start. So familiarity here is high, and I hate high familiarity. They just saw him. They know what he's doing, stuff like that. That's very concerning for me always, because it does matter. We tend to see guys fall off in that second start. But Eovaldi, really good pitcher. He's been using more curveballs over his past 7 starts, 28% strikeout rate. That is the second highest mark on this slate, behind Freddie Peralta, who is not going to be on a full leash coming out the IL. Low walk rate for Eovaldi. Cleveland, not a bad offense, definitely better now than they were earlier in the year, but still not one we need to avoid. So I'd say Eovaldi's a good mid-range pitcher. And the one I wouldn't expect many to be on today is Vladimir Gutierrez for the Reds. Facing the Tigers, 89 WRC plus versus righties and a 26% strikeout rate. And now they lose the DH and go into a National League park. So Gutierrez has been leaning more on his changeup recently, trying to cancel out what lefties do against him. Seems to be working. In the past 6 starts, the more changeups, a 23% strikeout rate, still letting up a lot of hard contact. So it's not a guarantee to work well, because there are some paths to failure for Gutierrez. If you let up fly balls in hard contact at Great American Ballpark, bad things can happen. So he's risky, but I like the upside here. So I would say Eovaldi and Gutierrez, the two mid-range guys I'd want to turn to there. Jimmy on Facebook says Altuve crushes Arrieta. Yeah, I think that Altuve is someone we should feel pretty good about for today. He's good against lefties, good against righties, whatever it may be. So I think that Altuve definitely a good one there. Let's talk to James on YouTube. How do you feel about an Atlanta-Colorado stack? I like the Atlanta side of that one, James, facing off with Antonio Senzatela. Senzatela is a pretty good pitcher. I'm not going to lie. Like, he's been pretty solid. He gets ground balls and stuff like that, has had really good results. But he does live dangerously for a pitcher at Coors Field. A lot of balls in play, does let up hard contact. The Braves got some bangers in there, so I'm okay stacking against him. I think the Braves are my number 3 stack for today. I'm okay putting the Astros and the Rays above them, but the Braves are number 3. As far as Colorado, I really like Huascar Ynoa. I think he's a talented pitcher. He's looked good since he came off the IL as well, so I'm okay avoiding the Rockies. Pretty weak team versus righties. Ynoa, a good pitcher, so I would say thumbs up on the Braves. Not as interested in the Rockies for today, but I do like the Braves quite a bit. Kenneth, how do you feel about Otto tonight as a pitching option? So this is start number 2 for Glenn Otto, facing the Angels. The Angels, not the toughest team to face right now by any means. Otto, the problem I would say is he went just 73 pitches in his first start, so that would be a concern for me. We might not see a lot of length out of Otto, so I would say probably no for me. He's on the road, stuff like that. Not a lot of length, so personally an avoid for me. I'd rather go to again with Gutierrez or Eovaldi for tonight. Savon, best stacks for single entry for today. So I feel like the Braves are probably going to be pretty popular just because their implied total is so high. So to me, I think the Astros and the Rays may wind up being really good single entry teams, just because I wouldn't expect them to be as popular as the Braves for tonight. So I would say the Rays and the Astros grade out pretty well. Maybe we get some value there. I think for single entry pitcher, I'm probably going to go Eovaldi or Gutierrez over Ohtani for tonight, but so may not need that salary savings, but I think it means we can go with Austin Meadows. We can go with Brandon Lau. There's no Wander Franco for today for the Rays, which is kind of a bummer. But I do still think the Rays grade out well. Jackie is asking Giancarlo Stanton home run today. Facing John Means. John Means does let up a lot of fly balls. Not a big hard contact guy. This is 8 starts since he came back, but a lot of balls in play, a lot of fly balls. Jackie, thumbs up on Giancarlo Stanton. I think that's a good one for today. Maurice is saying CJ Upshaw. Not sure what that is. Bastruder is saying, let's see here. Let's go to Rich. He says he's looking for a 50-50 lineup. He needs to ice the beer down. Rich, not going to give out a full lineup for today because, the goal is to give you the tools to make your own lineup. I would say if you're looking to build a cash game lineup, I feel like you might just want to go Ohtani because the safety is pretty high with him. I would say, though, if you're not going to go Ohtani, definitely go Eovaldi over Ohtani because, again, it's a repeat matchup, which is scary for a cash game situation. But he's a good pitcher. Cleveland, not the most threatening offense, so I'd say Eovaldi, good cash game pitcher for today. Chill introvert, like the name. Atlanta bats worth the salary, or are there lower salaried bats to stack? I do think Atlanta's worth the salary. They did get jacked up in terms of salary between yesterday and today, which they should have because they were super under salaried. I would say they're worth it, Chill. But if you have like a single entry stack, I think that the Braves are what I would not deem to be a must-have. I think that they are a team I'd like to get to, but they're not a must-have for today. The one reason I am very accepting of the Braves is that the other teams that I want to stack, the Astros and the Rays, are not like low salaried either. So I'm still on board with them for sure. Let's talk to Kenneth. Do you like Adalberto Mondesi as a one-off today? Yeah, I do. Like it a lot. Facing Dallas Keuchel. Keuchel letting up a lot of hard contact right now. No strikeouts. Mondesi looked good in his rehab stint. Hit a dinger. Stole a base in his first game back. I think he's awesome. Kenneth, full thumbs up to Adalberto Mondesi and Salvador Perez, assuming he plays today as well. I didn't check out their lineup before we started here. I assume Perez is in there. He is. Oh, Edward Olivares is batting fourth. That's fun. Wow. Okay. I might stack the Royals. I don't know. We could go Perez, Olivares, Mondesi, and Taylor. That's kind of fun for a value stack. So yeah, let's do it. Let's party. Let's stack the Royals for today. Salvatore says, reporting live somewhere in North Philly. I also like the Phillies. Okay, so Salvatore is on the Phillies, and I don't think that's a homer call, Salvatore. They're facing Jesus Luzardo. Luzardo's obviously struggled since he, the entire year, honestly. But since he joined Miami, this is actually a smaller sample than that. This is, he's been lowering the usage on his sinker. In that sample, 5.33 skill interactive ERA, 20% strikeout rate, still a lot of walks, not the best contact profile. That can be Philadelphia for today. The reason why I am not putting them in my top three is Luzardo did look pretty good in his most recent start. 8 strikeouts against Cincinnati. Cincinnati is worse versus lefties than the Phillies are, but Luzardo is a guy whose talent I believe in. The game is in Miami, so that's why they're not higher on the list. I am not saying not to use them. I think I will get there, but that's the reason why they're not higher, despite the fact Luzardo overall has struggled quite a bit. Renee, pitcher recommendation on the $555 entry. Kudos to you, Renee. I would say in that situation, I would play things the same way as I would if it were a $3 entry. It just depends on the field size there. So to me, I would say I'm probably looking at Vladimir Gutierrez. Like, why not live life a little bit dangerously? I feel like people probably won't be super on him because he has struggled for the full year, but I like the changes he's made, like the matchup. So I think Gutierrez is a guy I might turn to there. If I'm trying to roll the dice, shoot for upside, I think the Gutierrez is pretty solid option. Salvatore, Philly stack or one-offs? So they're asking if you can stack them or do one-offs. I'd probably go for one-offs more so than a full stack because with Rhys Hoskins being out, it's a rougher lineup than it was previously, but Freddie Galvis, I think, is a good one-off Salvatore. I think that I can feel pretty good about that one. So Freddie Galvis, he's batting leadoff there. McCutchen works. Harper, it's a lefty, but who cares? He works too. So I think more so for one-offs than a full stack. Let's talk to Jackie over on Twitch. Otto over 4.5 strikeouts is my call for him. Again, I'd worry about pitch count there because he was at 73 last time. I don't have the data right in front of me and where he was in the minors, but I'd be a little bit worried about pitch count and betting it over for that one. Salvatore, one utility spot with $4,100 to spare. Okay, let's go to utility. Probably going to be Altuve or Alvarez. Actually, let's go Alvarez. I love Altuve, but like Yordan Alvarez, if he plays, because he might not, because again, they'd lose a DH for today. But if Alvarez is in there, he's really good. We want to use lefties against Arrieta. I'm fine with righties too, but like preferring lefties. So I would say Alvarez followed by Altuve. As far as other options, probably looking at Coors Field if we're not going with the Astros. Okay. If Albies plays, which he might not, it sounded like there were some options that you play yesterday, he didn't. Austin Riley would work there too. So I would say if I'm ranking those options, Alvarez 1, Altuve 2, and then if Albies plays 3, if not Austin Riley, number 4. Jim can't give all his secrets. We can't handle that much knowledge. No, there's no knowledge here, Jackie. Believe me. And it's more so like, again, my goal is that you don't have to watch his show. Like if we can give you the tools to do your own research and make this show obsolete, not necessary, that'd be awesome. Like the fewer viewers, the better. We want to make it so you can do all this yourself. That's the goal, at least, to try to give you the tools to be successful. Savon is asking if there are any under the radar stacks for today. So let's go over here. The way to try to identify under the radar stacks, because a lot of people are just going to stack the teams with the highest implied totals. So what you want to do is look at implied totals, try to find some ones that maybe a bit more middling that people may gloss over if they're doing a quick land. So it won't be the Braves, won't be the Yankees, won't be the Reds, not the Rockies. I actually not super into Boston. Cal Quantrill's looked pretty good recently. So if we're looking for under the radar, actually the Rays and the Astros grade out pretty well there. Renee's Mets look pretty decent there. So I think that this middle chunk here in the high 4s, the implied total, actually is pretty good. The Rays, Mets, and Astros, all teams I like a lot, but also not going to pop in terms of implied total. So I think that these are all pretty interesting for me. Savannah is asking if there's any weather to worry about. I didn't see any earlier. I think we should be good to go there. And finally, need help narrowing the slate. Can you help me decide which pitchers to target for today? So the pool, I would say, at pitcher, for me at least, is Shohei Ohtani, Nathan Eovaldi, Vladimir Gutierrez. I know Gutierrez is risky, so I understand if you don't want to go there. I totally get it. That's totally fine. If there are other options, Adam Wainwright's an option. I worry because the team's not that great, but he's a good pitcher facing a team that will strike out. I think that Wainwright is someone you could talk yourself into. I would not push back against that. Everyone else kind of tough. I like the talent on Manoah, but a tougher matchup, a lower strikeout matchup. So I would say probably those 4. Wainwright being iffy. I probably won't get there myself, but I can see it for sure. Diffuse is asking about the Reds. So the Reds aren't very good against lefties. That's one concern. 89 WRC plus, a 153 ISO. They're a very different team versus lefties and righties. Tyler Alexander is a guy I've stacked against a lot this year, but he's been making some changes recently, been going shorter in games. He has been more effective as a result of that. So I would bet the Reds are pretty popular. I'm okay being a bit underweight on them. I will say, though, that for one-offs, they're very interesting because Tyler Stevenson batting second is a guy with a lot of power versus lefties. Aristides Aquino has a lot of power versus lefties. Castellanos probably going to make something terrible happen and go deep tonight. Jonathan India has been really good. So I think for one-offs they work, and I'm okay going there. For full stacks, I'm okay being a bit lower than consensus, just because I do worry a lot about them being very popular, the fact they're bad against lefties, and that Alexander has been improving recently. Let's talk to Johnny on Facebook. Is Bumgarner a strong play tonight? Seattle goes up and down. Obviously, looking at projected roster tonight, Seattle has quite a few left-handed bats in play. Yeah, I like the thought process there for you, Johnny. The concern that I have is that Bumgarner's strikeout numbers have been pretty rough. This is in his past 7 starts with more changeups, 4.88 skill interactive ERA, 17% strikeout rate, letting up a lot of fly balls. So the matchup is really, really good. And if it were strictly matchup based, strictly, the roof is also closed tonight at Chase Field. That helps as well. I just really worry about about what Bumgarner's doing right now. So I like the matchup. Totally agree with your thoughts there. Just harder for me to talk myself into the pitcher himself, given the low strikeout rate recently. Mike also asked about Bumgarner for tournaments. Yeah, I think, again, I won't be getting there. I just need more strikeouts out of my guy. Savon is asking, how would you stack Tampa? So again, no Wander Franco for today. He had a headache last night and left the game. He said he's feeling better today, but not in the lineup. So we can look at this one here. Kevin Kiermeier batting 6th is interesting. So let's check out the Rays numbers versus righties. I was hoping Brett Phillips, assuming he's healthy, was in there, but that didn't happen. I'm sad about that, but whatever. It's okay. My feelings are, oh, he's on the IL. That's why. Huh? Okay. So let's cross out these guys here. And let's go check out Kiermeier. See if we can talk ourselves into him batting sixth. 140 ISO, 6 stolen bases. That's not bad. I think that's okay, given the low salary, given that I do have some high salaried stacks I want to get to. So let's actually be okay. Let's go Meadows first. Then let's go Kiermeier. Then let's go to Lau at second base because I want to fill second. Then the question is, do I go with Nelson Cruz? Do I go with Yandy Diaz? Do I go with Joey Wendell? Wendell, he hasn't been very good recently from a power perspective, and I care a lot about power. So let's look at the batted ball data because last time I checked, which was, I think, on like Monday or so, sometime when I was on the Rays, wanted to talk myself into him. Couldn't quite do it. So it was an effort that was made. But let's pull up here. Let's go August 10th for funsies. Since then, 3 barrels for Wendell, a 36% hard hit rate, not lofting the ball all that much. It's not ideal. Not ideal. Check out the ISO here, see whether the results say 169 ISO, I guess, is not the worst. So Wendell's fine, I guess. I know it's the most inspiring endorsement I could have given of him, but like, you know, if you go with this Rays stack, $3,300, that should get you to the Astros, could get you to the Braves are kind of tough there, but I think that this one works. So I think this is a decent stack for the Rays. I would probably want to get to Nelson Cruz if I could over Wendell, but I think this is probably where we're looking to exploit the fact that Randy Dobnak lets up a lot more fly balls to lefties than to righties. Savon, is smart to stack against the Phillies pitcher for today. And Salvatore also asked about Kyle Gibson. He said, I'm getting to Nathan Eovaldi, Kyle Gibson, and Shohei Ohtani. So let's talk about Kyle Gibson in general. He's made some tweaks with the Phillies. He's been throwing more cutters. I don't know why. The cutter is not like a good pitch for him. It's a pitch he used a lot in the opener when he let up like 97 runs while getting 2 outs. And for some reason, the Phillies pitching staff has said, let's use that more. Hasn't worked. He has a 14% strikeout rate with his 6 starts with Philadelphia. He's getting ground balls. The matchup is great. I don't like the strikeout rate. So I'm not going to get to Gibson. Don't want to stack against him because Miami's offense is pretty bad, but I also don't want to use him as my pitcher for today. Savon, I want to fade the White Sox starting pitcher and stack Kansas City, but Kansas City has been putting up a lot of runs recently. They're not very good, so that's probably why. I think that the good thing is they did get Mondesi back. He's a pretty big boost to that entire offense. Let's actually build out a Royal stack here now that we know Mondesi's in there. We know our boy, our shining boy, Edward Olivares is batting cleanup as well. Need a one-off. I'd say Olivares is really good there. Let's put Mondesi at shortstop. Let's put Perez at catcher/first base. Let's get our boy here in the outfield. Olivares, $2,100. Oh, it's so sweet. I'd love to get to hard hit wit, but like I feel like the best utility of the Royals is give me salary savings. Let's go with Michael A. Taylor, I should say. Sorry to all their Michael Taylors out there. $3,450. That's quite a lot of juice to get to the Astros, Braves, Rays if you want to as well. So I think that's a pretty fun stack on the Royals. So I do think that although they've been struggling, as you said, Savon, I'm okay getting there. Savon, what teams are you staying away from today? Let's see here. So I feel like I'm not staying away from the Reds. I feel like I'll be underweight on them just because, you know, again, struggle against lefties. Alexander's been getting better recently. I don't think that they're a cross-off by any means. Like they're still, you know, Stevenson specifically is pretty good. Castellanos is pretty good. I'm okay being lower on them though, as a, just because I do think that, you know, I think that people will probably be pretty high on them. So I'm okay being a bit lower on the Reds than consensus. Other teams I'm avoiding, probably not going to be on the Rockies. I know their implied total is pretty high, but I have a lot of respect for Enoa. The Rockies, not very good versus righties. So I would say going to be lower on the Rockies, probably lower on the Reds than consensus, probably lower on the Blue Jays. I know Manaea has been bad, but like I have like this fondness in my heart for Sean Manaea, so I just like watching him pitch. So I would say lower on the Jays in consensus, lower on the Reds, and lower on the Rockies in consensus. It's not to say you shouldn't use them. If your process led you there, go ahead. But I feel like I'll be lower on them than others for today. Let's talk to Jerry. What's the difference between a pitcher's park and a hitter's park? Your definition. Good question. It's based on data is how I try to form it. So like here, you can see the park factor. A higher number favors batters, whereas a lower number favors pitchers. And there are a lot of things that go into that. Primarily, it's temperature, which is why you can see here I have the temperatures here. Like, let's say it's April, and everywhere else it's 40 degrees, but it's 70 degrees in Tampa Bay. That time of year, Tampa Bay is a hitter's park relative to other parks. Now, when it's 70 degrees elsewhere, Tampa Bay is pretty neutral, but like in the summer, like in July, early August, Tampa Bay was very much a pitcher-friendly park because it was colder than other spots. So I would say temperature influences a lot, Jerry. And we have some places where they can be a pitcher's park one time a year, hitter's park other times. In general, the rule of thumb is you want to maximize temperature for hitters, minimize temperature for pitchers. That's kind of the rule of thumb for defining things, but things such as dimension, altitude, all that do matter as well. If you Google ESPN park factors or Roto-Grinders park factors, you can find different park factors. Roto-Grinders breaks it down by handedness, which I think is pretty helpful. So I would just Google Roto-Grinders park factors. That's a pretty big help to see what handedness helps, what gets a benefit at which parks and stuff like that. Home runs, triples, stuff like that. I would check it out. Aaron, have a good weekend, Jim. Where are you at? Background different. I am in Maryland. I'm here for a wedding this weekend, so I'm at a hotel. I've never done one of these streams from a hotel, so hopefully the neighbors aren't too annoyed. Sorry that I'm talking loud at myself in this hotel room, but hopefully they're not too mad at me. We'll see. Salvatore, 3,000 left in utility. Where are we going here? Okay, so let's go over here. And let's check out the utility slot. There are a lot of dudes on this slate. It's a lot of scrolling to get down to $3,000. Okay. All right. So, Akil Baddoo, I mean, he's facing Vladimir Gutierrez, who I do like, but Baddoo's probably undersalaried, I would say, at $3,000. He's got a lot of power, good hitter's park. Eugenio Suarez could work as a one-off there versus Alexander. Don't want to use Lopez. I can use Wendell, I guess, but again, not super enthusiastic about doing so. Ahmed, Aguilar, William Adames facing Wainwright. Farmer's not bad. I would say, Rogers is facing Inoa. That's kind of tough. McCutchen could work. I would say McCutchen might be one of the better options there. $2,000 facing a lefty. Luzardo has struggled quite a bit, so I don't mind Wendell, but would really probably not get there just for a one-off. For a one-off, I just want to maximize dinger potential, so Suarez. So let's say here, Suarez is an option. I would say McCutchen is an option. Those are probably the two best ones in terms of one-offs around $3,000. Renee, any Diamondbacks? Maybe Marte. Renee, you changed your profile picture during the stream. Very impressive. I like the dual efforts there. Any Diamondbacks? Maybe Marte. Okay, the Diamondbacks are facing, looks like Anderson. That was not official. They had not officially announced yet whether he would play. Marte, amazing against lefties. So you can definitely get there. I would say, though, that Anderson's done a good job of suppressing our contact. That's why I'm a bit lower, just because Anderson is pretty good at that. But Marte is very good against lefties. So he's not out of play, but the Diamondbacks to me, not as interesting. Aaron says, at least you brought that fancy camera and mic. I did. I had to pack in my suitcase. I brought the tripod too, which you can't see because the camera's on it. Tripod's here. Didn't bring the lights, which is why I look kind of weird, but we made an effort trying to get the people their info on a Friday afternoon. Final one, Savon finally got a DFS lineup optimizer. I hope it was from numberFire, Savon. I hope. By Draft Dashboard, trying to see it out. What's up? Any suggestions or tips on using these? Again, make sure you do not use default settings. Try to alter stuff because you don't want the default. for anything, because like someone else can have that default too. You want to make sure you have a unique lineup. So alter things, try to find teams you're higher on, try to lock in a pitcher and stuff like that. Tweak stacking settings if you can as well. Alter things to make sure you're not getting the default. That is not the way you want to use an optimizer. But again, check out numberFire.com. Check out the Sharp Stack over there at Savannah. That one might be free. I can't recall either way. I guess one more from Jerry. Do you like stacking the Mets and the Washington game mixing the Atlanta bats? I don't mind some Washington one-offs against Rich Hill, and I don't mind some Mets one-offs. So, Jerry, no objections. I think that sounds good. And Jerry likes a Baez home run call. I hope so. Javi Baez, I know it's been a weird week for him, but I'm always pro Javi Baez. And I'm always pro all of you because you tuned in for today for this FanDuel Live Q&A. We are back once again next week on Tuesday, not on Monday because it is Labor Day, so I will not be here. I suggest you're not here either because that'd be kind of boring. We'll be back once again on Tuesday, though. No PGA because there's no PGA event next week. We will have baseball, though, at 4 p.m. YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter. Make sure you are subscribed there. If you've got more questions for me, I am on Twitter at JimSannes, JimSannes. Big thank you to Joy Affleck, our video producer, for running the video side of things here today. Thank you, Joy, as always. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Good luck tonight. Have a great weekend. Go Cats. And we'll talk to you once again on Tuesday. This has been the FanDuel Live Q&A.